Hey guys, thanks for joining me here once again here at Caster's Crafts videos, and hopefully you enjoy the video just as much as I enjoyed making the video. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. In this diorama, I'm going to try to make another diorama about a Western society that has been altered by the arrival of new alien life forms to the planet. As you can see in my previous video, if you would like to click on it, it will probably be somewhere up there. So starting off this process, I'm scaling up first the entrance for the merchant's cave, as well as trying to use some of these old foam board pieces that I cut beforehand so that they don't go to waste. Once everything was glued down, I take my hot wire and I start to cut the entrance to the cave, as well as start trying to carve in the cave for my Specter and his companion, which will be a horse. Getting the shape of the actual entrance to the cave was a bit difficult with this hot wire. I tried many different forms of cutting into the actual foam board. I went wider with my cuts, which eventually made the cuts a bit harder to reach as I further went in. So eventually I switched to my carving tool, where I started to carve away at some of the volume. I switched to a hot tip with my hot wire handheld device, I guess you can call it, and I started to carve some cracks into the surface on top of the cave, where the mountain top will kind of be seen, just to get some of that detail in. I also used my carving tool to scratch in some detail into the sides, into the mountaintops, and using my finger to kind of peel away at the bits and pieces as I scratched into it, just to make sure I had enough detail for when I started mixing up my plaster and my Mod Podge. Now, there's a lot of ways to mix this. A lot of people use plaster and water, which is also just fine. People use plaster and paint. People use plaster, Mod Podge, and paint. It's perfectly fine. You can switch any way you want. I prefer to use just plaster and Mod Podge because it is the easiest materials I can get my hands on, and just a little bit of water just to make it, kind of brushable on some of the cracks. I use my hand glove to smoothen out the surfaces, the horizontal surfaces where I put most of the plaster to cover it up, kind of give it some texture. And then eventually I use my popsicle stick to make sure to spread it out evenly throughout. Once I was done using up all the plaster I made, I switched to my brush and some Mod Podge and started painting it and brushing it on top of the horizontal surface leading up to the cave, where I'm going to lay out more texture in the form of small pebbles and some sand and some flocking. I then sealed every single piece of texture that I added with some isopropyl alcohol and watered down white glue. Now that it's all done, I take it outside to dry and then to prime. And now it's time to move on to the miniatures. I glued the Specter and his horse to a base and took it outside to prime. And now it's time to start painting. I painted both miniatures, but I did not get enough footage to be able to add any of the actual paint job on the miniatures inside the clip. But I got enough footage of me painting the diorama once I brought it back from priming it outside. I began painting the base with some brown washes, and then I ended up using a creamy wash as well as a black wash to blend it all together. I just got a new tripod so that I can implement some more footage of the camera paint job. Since I only have one camera and one tripod, I cannot record from every angle. But now that I got the new tripod and another camera at my disposal, I will actually be able to include some of that footage for you guys on the next video. So stay tuned. I began to paint or brush some Mod Podge on the horizontal surfaces, where I'm going to add some vegetation to give the diorama a bit more life, so it's not just a rocky mountain area. Using my static grass applicator, I actually just had to connect the lead to the Mod Podge where I brushed it on, and just simply sprinkle over the top side with some of the static grass with the static grass applicator. Once that was done, I figured this Specter needs something in front of him that's challenging him to his cave, and I actually decided to pick up a D&D miniature figure at the hobby store. Since all the creatures around this new Western steampunk world started to mutate and everything started to change, I figured this earthworm would be a great touch to this diorama. Also, this landscape wouldn't be as beautiful as it could be without just some miniature trees. I finally glued all the figures into place and I was done. Thank you for clicking on this video and thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I enjoyed making the video. If you haven't seen my previous video, go ahead and go to my channel. It's right in the description somewhere. Go ahead and click like and subscribe as well. It will really help me out. Turn on those post notifications, never miss a video. I'm going to be trying to consistently post. Thank you once again and hope you guys have a great day. Cheers.